Welcome back to another edition of Cranky Gun Reviews. I'm back here with my Mossberg 44US-D that I started a couple of weeks ago, cleaning up and refinishing. And, in the last video when I left it, I had basically gotten to a point where I had taken some brass wool and pretty much gotten about 80% of the paint off of the barrel and the receiver. So I kind of picked up where I left off in that video, and this time around, I took that brass wool and I was able to do a lot more cleaning on the barrel. I was able to remove just about all of the paint off of the receiver and around where the barrel meets the receiver. I tried taking the takedown bolt out of this because I thought if I took the takedown bolt out, the barrel might slide right out. But honestly, that thing is in there so tight, I really don't want to take it apart. So as I'm, looking at this and I'm expecting it a little bit better, you can tell that it kind of looks like, now that I look at it up closer, it looks like somebody used a wire wheel to clean this thing, because you can kind of see those chatter marks. That's based on, something from a rotary type tool rubbing over and over again on the barrel. So there's several areas on this barrel that look like it was definitely hit with a wire wheel. It was not carefully stripped down the last time it was done. You can see there's a bunch of divots where that front sight was knocked out of this. They're actually pretty raised up and they're pretty sharp. So I may file those back down. I may actually put a plug in that 3/8 dovetail, or I might just leave it alone. I haven't quite decided. But after getting all that paint off of there and looking at how this was, I was a little bit disappointed in the overall finish. I had heard a few people online and in my previous video giving me suggestions about what to use to potentially take off the rest of the bluing to try to get it down to white metal. So I went down to my kitchen and I grabbed some good old-fashioned Heinz white vinegar, 5% acidity, and spent about 20 minutes washing this thing down. I think I washed it 4 or 5 times in that vinegar. I know some people said you have to let it soak in there overnight or something like that to really take the bluing off, but in actuality, just washing it for about 10 or 15 minutes, I would basically wash the entire thing in vinegar, rinse it off in hot water in the sink, wash it in vinegar again, wash it off in hot water in the sink. I did that 4 or 5 times, and it came out quite a bit cleaner. So this is really what I'm starting with to start rebluing this barrel. And after I got it all cleaned with vinegar, I spent a good amount of time with some quadruple-aught steel wool. I cleaned the entire barrel inside and out with steel wool. I rinsed it off in my tub with hot water, dried the entire thing so it's completely dry before I started, and then I used this cold bluing compound, and I basically just started with an old t-shirt as a rag, applied some onto the t-shirt, and wiped it on the barrel. And right off the bat, when I started doing this, I was getting pretty encouraged because you can see the metal going from that bright white steel to this nice deep rich blue luster, and as the bluing compound dried, it lightened up a little bit. Now, this is where I actually think I did something wrong, because on the bottle, and I'll show you here in a minute, it basically tells you to clean the metal off thoroughly, use some steel wool to clean it, and then apply the cold bluing to the metal and rinse it off with cold water, hit it with steel wool again, apply the bluing again, rinse it off with cold water. And that wasn't exactly how I did it. So when I redid my Model 17 shotgun, I used hot water to rinse it off instead of cold water. So after you apply the bluing, I use steel wool to go over it to polish it. Then I would wash it with hot water. Then I would dry it. Then I would put another layer of cold bluing on it. Again, steel wool over that to polish it. Then I would go wash it in hot water again. So when I was doing this process, all of the metal was hot, and I think it was supposed to be cold based on the instructions. So the bluing didn't come out quite as good as I had hoped. I think, my process, as well as the fact that this barrel has had some, pretty vigorous cleaning with a wire wheel in the past, it's not really the right way to clean bluing off. You should really chemically strip it. It might have changed some of the makeup of the barrel. Sometimes if you get it too hot, it changes the composition of the metal. But this is what it looks like now that I've got it all stripped down, re-blued. You can see the receiver really didn't take any bluing at all. It almost still looks like white metal. And as I go down the rest of the barrel, although it looks like it doesn't have a lot of bluing left on it. It actually is way darker than it was with the raw white metal. Now, as I roll this thing around, you can kind of see that the bluing is a bit splotchy in different places, and it doesn't really look even. Again, I was a little bit disappointed with how it looks, but the more I look at this thing, I think I'm going to call this something like bluaflage or camo blue or something like that. It almost looks like it's a little bit camouflaged and splotchy with a pattern on there that I almost intended to do. It doesn't really look that bad. And the fact that this is, this was made in like 1947, 1948. This is a really old gun. I don't really know what to expect on this. It wasn't hot tank blued or saltwater blued or whatever. I still think it came out pretty good. And now that I have that rail on there, this is going to be a really cool project. So stay tuned for the next video. When I do more work on this, I want to clean up and refinish the stock a little bit. I'll put it all back together, put a scope on it, do some trigger pull testing, and then we'll get it out to the range. So thanks again for stopping by. I really appreciate everybody that joins me on these videos. Have a great day. God bless America. Support your 2A rights. Get out there and shoot, and have a great day.